It's in the left.
Good evening and welcome to the September 2nd meeting of the Northborough Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Becca, do you have the statement from the governor?
I do. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law June 16, 2021. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. This meeting will be live streamed, but will have no option for public participation. To view or listen only, visit the YouTube link posted on our agenda on the town's website.
Thank you, Becca. First item on the agenda is just the approval of the August 5th meeting minutes. We'll do a roll call vote and check audio at the same time, save some time. So roll call vote.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion has been moved by Deidre, second by Sheikah. Roll call vote. Mary Leach,
Aye.
Sheikah Holland,
Aye.
Deidre Writing,
Aye.
Becca Meekins,
Aye.
and I, Tim Canlon, vote aye. Meeting minutes are approved. Like to welcome tonight's guest speakers from the Historic District Commission. Welcome, Leslie, Norm, and Bob. It's good to see you. Thanks for taking the time to come out and meet with us.
So glad we could be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So when I spoke with Becca, she made it sound like we should start off just really introducing our commission and what we do. So before I do that, I'm Norm Corbin and I'm the chair of it's actually the Historic District Commission. Leslie is the vice chair, and then Bob is one of the alternates on our committee. So let me start off by, I'm going to pull up something so I get my story consistent. Let's see what we got here. All right. Phone is ringing. I don't like that. So we're actually two commissions in one. Some towns, you think of like Salem and Concord and Lexington, they actually have two commissions. One is called the Historic District Commission, and the other one is called the Historical Commission. About 3-4 years ago, we went to town meeting and asked him if we could merge the two together, which is allowable. The reason we did that is, we're a small town with small historic districts, and we couldn't justify really having its own district commission. So we piggybacked the Historic District Commission with the Historical Commission. So they are different, and the responsibility of the Historic District Commission is we work with property owners within the two Northborough historic districts, and the goal is to maintain their historical street view appearance. So that's the responsibility we have as the Historic District Commission. As the Historical Commission, it's more of an informative type of a responsibility. So what we have written down is it says we identify, evaluate, and preserve historical assets, along with broadening the community awareness of the historical heritage of our town. One thing we do as the Historical Commission, we work very close with the Historical Society. The Historical Society is a completely independent nonprofit, but many people on the commission and many people are also members of the Historical Society. The Historical Society is a real asset to the town for historical information on all kinds of things. So that's who we are, what we do, and let me see where we went. Here we are. I'm a little rusty today. So that's what we are. That's who we are. That's what we do. So either Leslie or Bob, if you want to go into either more details of what we do, or if your organization would like to ask us questions, the floor is yours. Whatever's the best approach.
I have nothing to add. Norm, you did a bang up job as always.
Ha.
Sounds good, Norm.
Thanks. So what kind of interests you have in what we do and why?
May I ask quickly, just for a round of introductions, just to everybody from your committee?
Good
I don't-
idea, Leslie.
Thanks.
Yeah, my name's Tim Callan. I'm the chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee.
I'm Becca Meekins. I'm the Assistant Town Administrator and also a member of the DEI Committee.
I'm Deidre Writing.
Hi, good evening. I'm Sheikah Holland.
And I am Mary Leach.
Thanks. Nice to meet you all.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you all for coming. As I was reading the information, I was really interested in why you wanted to join this committee and kind of what background you all bring to it. Like what is your interest?
Interest in terms of us being on the Historical District Commission?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Like,
Why don't we start with Bob? Why are you on our commission, Bob?
Oh,
Other than I strong-armed
you
you.
asked me, yeah. No, I have a strong interest in, I've been in town since 1990. I've always had a strong interest in history. And I've been studying up on the history of the town of Northborough, very, very fascinating. And it seemed like a good opportunity. And we've been doing some interesting stuff lately, especially with some of the historical markers that have been being put up around town and the ones that we are going to do in the future, having to do with the Westboro State Hospital is a project that's going on right now, and also the Native American Trail that goes through the between Chauncey Lake and Little Chauncey Lake. So there's been a lot of interesting projects going on. It's been a lot of fun. I'm the newest member, so I don't know that much about the committee.
Leslie, why are you with us?
Also, I had a friend who, Deborah Claxton, who was on the commission, and she had surgery and she needed a ride to a meeting. So I I drove her to the meeting and hung out and said, well, this is pretty cool. I really didn't know much about you. And at the time, Deborah was working on the Brigham Street burial ground, which I guess was, largely unknown. So it was kind of cool just hearing about that and learning about that. And I just kind of got sucked in, and here I am. Deborah's gone and I'm here.
A very good replacement. And so I grew up in Salem, so I have a feeling for some history. And then I came out and eventually ended up here in Northborough. We've been in Northborough for about 36 years, I think. I was pulled into the Historical Commission almost 16, 17 years ago, so I've been here for quite a while. It's a small town. It has a lot of cute little history, and I like sharing that history with people that have interest in it. And the commission, both the commission and the Historical Commission and the Historic District Commission allows us to really get the press out on different parts of the town. We write articles in the newspaper. We're trying to get some things protected. But a lot of it is primarily trying to get people to be informed about the history of the town, so that once they're informed, we can try to get other ways of doing some protection for some of the older homes or some of the districts in the town. But it starts with education, and that's really what we spend a lot of our time on.
I have two comments to add on to Norm. Number one, I had no idea you grew up in Salem. I don't know how I've ever missed that. That's interesting. And Norm does about 80%, 75 to 80% of the work of our commission. He does everything. So he deserves a big shout out there.
Being retired is a big part of that. The hobby now. But thank you, Leslie.
thank you all so much for answering that. That was really interesting. I had a second question, and that is really how does the committee view diversity in general? And is that something like a deliberate thing that you do when you're thinking about, collecting history? How do you define diversity and kind of what, I know this is like 5 questions, right? But anyway, what diversity things have you collected, diversity related things? Yeah, those are my questions.
Why don't I start? I talked to Becca a couple of days ago. Probably right now, the thing on diversity is really trying to understand some of the Native American inhabitants of the region, which is, that's pretty unique. So the history of the town is an interesting one if you read, and it's really the history of New England and a lot of the areas around here. You know, a lot of these towns were founded by the Puritans out of Boston. So they were pretty much white Anglo-Saxon with the Protestant religion, and they weren't diverse at all. As they moved out from Boston into areas like where we live, as time went on, there was a lot of issues about diversity. Big ones were, you know, the church, the splitting up of the church. As the one church became more liberal, they broke away. The settlements of the French Canadians that worked in the mills, and the Irish that worked in the mills also. Those, you know, we take it for granted today. We have a pretty diverse Northborough community, but back then that was a big deal to have the Roman Catholics come in, the Irish. They were really not welcomed. I can find some documents that said, no, why are they here? So that's kind of, you know, when I look at diversity, I look at it that the town's much more diverse than it was certainly when it was first settled. That's kind of what, you know, the diversity question, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I guess I would turn that question around too, which is, I guess, because Norm points out there really isn't a lot of diversity in our history except for the Native American component, is how can diversity, sort of like to get that as a takeaway from here, how can the diversity inform us going forward, and how can we factor it into the work that we do?
Yeah,
There was also a very strong abolitionist movement in Northborough before the Civil War. And, you know, again, back in the Civil War, there's always a debate about whether the war was to end slavery or to preserve the Union. And I think the consensus within Northborough, because of the strong abolitionist movement, was to eliminate slavery. And many Northborough residents went off to war in various regiments.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, when I've been thinking about how the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee can work with the Historical District Commission, is really around, like, for example, February is Black History Month. So are there historical things around Northborough, and maybe not just Northborough, but the surrounding communities, that are an important part of Black history, much like you were just talking about, Bob, with the community being, having people that were abolitionists, that were looking to join the Civil War because they wanted to end slavery. Like, I never knew that. That's a very interesting historical fact about the town. And there are other ones like that. You know, have any other historical important events like that taken place over the course of the town's founding? You know, and think about St. Patrick's Day with the Irish, and Norm's story about the Irish coming in. That's, you know, that's an important part of our history too. So that's what I was thinking is we as a committee are going to put together events over the course of the year that tie in different groups and different backgrounds and different experiences, and every group and everybody has some sort of, you know, they have a history, and if there's some historical context around our town or the surrounding towns that tie into those events, I think that would be really educational for people to learn the history of our community.
Do you have a booth at Applefest?
We're going to do one at the fireworks.
Okay, all right. Because they've got the street fair if you're interested in participating there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense? That was just my thinking around how the two committees could work together.
One of our, as I mentioned earlier, our biggest resource for historic information is the Historical Society. So my hunch is that if we contacted the Historical Society, they might be able to have a good idea for what there may have, I would expect that there are certain documents they have that actually discuss the diversity of the town back in the 1800s or 1700s when the population was growing with the mills. So it would be, and most people aren't aware of these topics. So I guess there would be a real reason, at least see what some of the history is with inclusion in the past. I mean, just taking the I'm French Canadian, so I don't think I would have been Roman Catholic. So I don't think I would have been welcome back in the 1800s, early 1800s. So it's, I take it for granted now that that wouldn't have been the case back then. So maybe there's a reason to start making people realize that over time, things do eventually change and we become a more welcoming society.
Yeah, absolutely. And including stories about, like, I think what Bob was talking about, the Civil War is really interesting. The fact that, it may have been the 1760s, but people were still from Northborough standing up for equal rights for people and willing to sacrifice their lives for that. It's not like Northborough has a historical stake in the ground, which I think is fascinating.
It would also be interesting, some of the early farms in Northborough and the early mills. So they had a lot of mills growing up along the Asmet River, and some of the early industry. Norm, what was that building? It was a comb factory the comb factory on Hudson
Main
Street.
Oh, the one on, yeah, it was a lot of things, but now it's the residential building now.
Yeah.
Right.
That has a lot of history there for all kinds of manufacturing.
And I'd be curious to look into what type of labor did they have? Where did the labor come from?
Yeah, it's that information exists. It's just a matter of communicating the request to the Historical Society.
Yeah.
Farm
workers. Did they bring in farm workers from
exactly. Just as a backup, the Historical Commission has been in existence in town on and off since 1970. So we don't have the file, and then there's a period of time where we were almost defunct until it resurrected again in the 90s. So we don't really have a lot of files, historical files, and just the archives at the Historical Society are unbelievable what they have in those archives, because they've been existent for well over 100 years and they've been accumulating information. So I keep saying, I reference the society because they really have the town's history locked up. As we're speaking here, I just know people at the society that they could participate in some of these discussions or ideas.
Norm, what's your committee's relationship with the society? Are you guys in contact a lot? Or how does
Yes, we
Okay.
work very closely with them. We're right now in the process of writing a preservation plan for for historical purposes, and a big part of that information is because of the resources that are available through the Historical Society. We work together.
One of our members is a member of, is it just Mike that's on the Historical Society, or are you also?
Mike is on the board. Mike is he's the vice president of the Historical Society right now. I'm a member. Several of us on our commission are members. And I'm actually on the membership committee for the Historical Society. So if anybody's interested, you can join the Historical Society for like $15 a year. But yeah, so we do work close together. A lot of things. They find out things and they send it to us with questions. We go back and forth on a regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking a little bit about what Tim said, I mean, I'm just thinking about, we are trying to, in the future, develop basically like a calendar of events around diverse celebrations throughout the year. And I am sure that we will do one around Indigenous Peoples Day. And, knowing that you guys are doing work on the ground right now about Native American roles in Northborough, I imagine like we would want to do something at the library, and I see the opportunity for us to come together where you guys could really, maybe do some education to kids, people living in town at one of those events. And it would be an opportunity for you guys to sort of talk a little bit about what you do and also, give people a taste of local history.
That's a real good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Can you guys talk a little bit about some of the native, I know, Bob, you mentioned a trail. Can you expand on that a little bit, or the burial grounds?
Yeah, Norm, you might want to mention the sign that was put up on not Lyman Street, but there was a
Barefoot
Native
Road.
American
I'm sorry,
There's a
Bartlett Street, sorry.
Bartlett Street, and then there's a new one that we're putting up on Lyman Street.
So if you go back, the state of Massachusetts has done a lot of work and there's been a lot of research on Native Americans in part of the state, which is all Nipmuc Native Americans. And there are maps, there are books about the different trail systems that came through Northborough through central Massachusetts. But there was a key one that actually connected from Sudbury. It started off in Sudbury and ended up in Grafton. And it connected two Native American settlements, one that was in Marlborough and one that was in Grafton. And that main trail, think of a highway that connected in those two villages, and it came right through parts of Northborough. So that's one that we've been highlighting because that's been a real active trail in the past. But so we've put up a sign. We put up a sign back on. It's actually near the aqueduct where it crosses Bartlett Street. That addresses that trail. And as Bob mentioned, we're working now to get another one to highlight some of that trail over by the old state hospital grounds that are in Northborough, because that trail went through those grounds.
And there's also several archaeological sites that we're looking into. Some of these sites, I think, Norm, they don't want people to go through them looking and digging up things that might have archaeological significance. But most of those sites, I believe, are Native American sites.
Yeah, there's about a dozen of them in Northborough, but they're on a need-to-know basis. And so we can kind of give an idea where they are, but we're not allowed to specific unless you need to know, because they're concerned about people accessing the sites and destroying them.
Do we know anything about the historical significance of the sites? Or is
I think one of the sites may have been like a camp, some type of a camp, because there was quite a few artifacts found at one site, over 100. A lot of the other sites are random finds of old arrowheads.
There's also the Mary Goodnow grave site.
Of course, that's right. There's the Mary Goodnow grave site. Are you all aware of the Mary Goodnow grave site in the town of Northborough? Not. That's, well, who wants to give the 1-minute summary of the Mary Goodnow grave site?
I would not be able to do nearly as good a job as you.
I don't want to dominate tonight's conversation.
No.
Dominate away.
I know
Remember
where
I
it
said
is,
about
but
like 80% of the work, I'll up it to 90%. Go for it, Norm.
All right. One of the famous parts of Northborough history is a sad story. If you drive down Route 20 heading to Marlborough, you'll see on the right-hand side of the road, there's a sign that says Mary Goodnow. Mary Goodnow, I'm not good with numbers in my head, but it was around 1709 or 1706. She was out in the fields with her, I think it was her sister or her cousin, and they were attacked by an Indian tribe.
Actually, I didn't think of it. She was disabled too, right?
She was disabled, which is why she couldn't get away from them. Her friend was able to get back into a safe house, and she was scalped and left to die right there on the path. So if you take the trail, because you can take the trail from that residential area, there's a parking lot there, you can walk through the trail, and there's a marker, and there's a large historical granite marker where she's currently buried, because they buried her at the site of where they found her body. So that's a real sad story for Northborough, but it's real and it happened. And there's a lot of, if you go online and Google Mary Goodnow, Northborough, you will find all the old records of, because it made the newspapers at the time, and it was well documented how many people were involved with that, where they ended up catching up with the Native Americans that did this. The interesting part of the story that most people don't know is those Native Americans were from Canada, because at that time the British were still fighting there was still problems between the British and the French. So the French were coming into British territories and just raising havoc with their native tribes. So they weren't Nipmuc. I guess the point is they weren't the local Native Americans at that time. But it's a very interesting story, and it's been well documented.
And at the time, that was all part of Marlborough.
Correct.
I think it was even as settlers moved from downtown Marlborough to out west, they formed Westboro, and then eventually Northborough split off from Westboro. And I believe that Marlborough had a fort to protect against Native American attacks. And then as people moved out west, there was less security, so they would always make sure that they were within walking distance back to Marlborough if they needed to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of, because Marlborough was actually a large center for one of the locations, there's a lot of Marlborough history. If you go back to the early Marlborough documents, there's a lot of history about the settlement of the native sites in Marlborough, and then when the English settlers came over and started to interact with them. As always, it started out in a very positive. They worked together for a while, and then things kind of went downhill. That's another story. But anyway, that's Mary Goodnow. If you want to just Google her name, and you'll find out the story. So we do have a lot of Native American history locally. It's just not as well known by any newcomers into the town, for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. I had a question around what you all are starting to kind of uncover or maybe bring more light and awareness to in terms of the history. It sounds like there's a couple of signs that have been put up, things like that to kind of mark different areas. Is there typically like a ceremony for that, or something that we can help to drive more awareness to? If you all have a new sign that's going to be going up or something like that, is that a way that we can maybe partner together and use the network that we're looking to build to get more people to come to the ceremony, or just be aware that a sign or some new marker is going to be put up in Northborough?
We haven't done ceremonies, but we've done articles in the Community Advocate.
Okay, got it. Got
So
it.
if you Google community, again, if you Google Community Advocate articles on Northborough signs, you'll see we put up, last count was pushing 14 or 15 historical markers in town right now. That we put, then there's tons of them from way before we got involved, but those would be the new ones.
Got it. Thanks, Norm.
Sure thing, Shika.
Anybody have any other
That's a good-
questions?
Oh, I have a question. So, okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi,
clearly.
Mary.
I just wanted to make sure. Thanks for sharing, guys. I do have a question. So in your work with sort of uncovering history of Indigenous communities, have you communicated with the Nipmuc Indigenous communities or surrounding Indigenous communities? I'm curious about that.
It turns out the retired chief of the Nipmuc Nation lives in Northborough. So we did communicate with him for the signs. And if you go to Community Advocate, we asked him to, we have a picture of him standing by the sign. I haven't been, the Nipmuc Nation is centered out of, they have a small reservation in Grafton. I've been by it, but I haven't, everything's shut down because of COVID. I haven't been to any, because of COVID, they're not having all of the events that they usually have and the like. So we haven't made communication with them recently.
I actually, I used to work in Grafton, and I know the Nipmuc chief, and she's actually a female.
That's right, the new one.
Yeah, she is, she's great. So I'd be happy to make that connection, after COVID or whatever. But they were a great group to work with in Grafton.
Oh, wow.
Did you say after COVID? Is that a thing?
Yeah, that might never happen. So maybe we can have him for a socially distanced or remote meeting.
That's great to know. Thanks for sharing.
But for those who haven't come from the beginning, I'm going to reiterate what I said at the beginning. You know, there is a lot of interest in the development of Northborough as different nationalities moved in, and you know, certainly there were some blacks in town back in the day, and I don't know what their responsibilities were. We know about the Native Americans, but even then, I know that the Historical Society has things on the French Canadians and has things on the Irish immigrants and what they were doing and where they lived. So a lot of that information exists, and I don't clearly, you know, the majority of the population of Northborough isn't really aware of the Northborough history. So we can certainly find a way to make it an awareness, you know, just culturally, you know, how that evolved too.
Yeah, that would be terrific. Anybody else have any other questions?
No questions, but thank you for joining us. This is really fascinating. I love all the history. It's really cool. Been here for 20 years, and the longer I'm here, the more curious I get, I guess. It's really cool. So thanks for
Do you
doing
know about the mastodon?
What's
Do you know
that?
about the mastodon? Do you know about the mastodon? It has nothing to do with DEI, but it's a fascinating story. Or you want to
Take it
get
over,
into it?
Leslie.
Just
Yours.
Yeah, it is
I
fascinating.
can't do it justice. There's a
No,
mastodon
no,
site.
you do this one. My throat's dry.
There's a mastodon site in town that was excavated by Harvard folks back in the 1800s. when that,
1800s. Yep.
and it's over near like Ski Ward. Is it in that general area? Okay, that's all I know. That's cool.
lot.
But if you Google that, there's pretty interesting articles on that as well.
There's a whole report from out of Harvard University regarding that site when it was first discovered, because mastodons are, you know, that was a long time ago.
Cool.
Norm, wanted to just say hello. I joined you
Hi,
late.
Virginia. I could see you down there. I could see you down there.
Yeah. how
Virginia
you
and I
doing?
work together on the 250th committee.
Oh,
I
nice.
actually look what I'm wearing.
Good. Nice. Nice.
Still works.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's I think the history of I moved here with my family in the late 70s. So I think the history of the town is it's fascinating. So, and I think there's a real cool opportunity for us to work together in helping people to learn some of that history in a culturally important way. So
That's great. I think you'll add a real nice nuance to our work as well. I think it's great. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. And I wasn't sure what to expect tonight, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
Good ideas.
Yeah, we're not bad people, Norm.
No, I didn't. I knew the people were good.
They're not nearly as scary as you said they were going to be, Norm.
We're history buffs like you, maybe not quite as deep as you guys, but
there are people in town that know a lot more than all of us combined, I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah. You go up to the Dull Men's Club at the
yes,
senior center. And
you learn. But if you are interested in Northborough history, there are several books out. There's one that was published in 1910 that's got a lot of early history of the town. That's pretty easy reading. You get that out of the library.
This is the.
You can buy it on eBay. I think I paid $15 for those or so. And then the library also has one that was written relatively recently, being bicentennial. That's not recent, so it's in the 1978 timeframe. But that's also in the library, and they're interesting reads because there's a lot of things that happened in town that you wouldn't have expected. So if your curiosity is piquing a little bit, those are some two good reference books.
I'll check them out.
All right.
Again, thank you very much. Your time is very much appreciated, and we thank you for joining us.
Great to
Likewise.
see you all. Take
All
care.
right.
guys.
Thanks so much. All right.
All right, have
Bye-bye.
a great
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'm confident that if somebody were to speak with the Historical Society, I bet you there's quite a few really cool stories that just haven't been brought to light yet. Like I never knew that about the Civil War. I think that's that people from the town fought in the Civil War, but you just figured they got drafted and off they went. But it's nice to hear that there was an actual reason for the participation. So very cool.
Thank you for coordinating that.
Yeah, that was all Becca. Thank you, Becca.
Thanks, Becca.
So next on the agenda, we have review community guidelines for the Facebook page. Becca had shared those with everybody. I had a chance to read through them. They covered everything that I had questions about. So I couldn't think of anything outside of those guidelines that were missed. I mean, I think they're pretty thorough while not being overly burdensome. Anybody have any feedback or questions or?
No, I mean, again, it's super thorough and you do a great job, Becca. Is it Becca that you prepared these?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a great job.
I mean, I'm happy if there's to take feedback. Obviously, I kind of saw this as our last hurdle before launching the page. So if everyone is on board with these as they're drafted, I think that we can, I think we're ready to take the step into making our page live, unless there's something I'm missing.
No, I don't think so. I think we, go ahead and get that up and going. I think the sooner we get it up and going, the better. So we can start advertising or letting the community know about the listening session. And I still like the idea of doing the 21-day challenge from Debbie Irving and recording some of those. I think those would be interesting. Even some of the historical stuff we talked about tonight, if you can find stuff online to share some of that on the page, I think we could have a pretty interesting page where people can actually get some meaningful information.
Yeah.
So who's gonna moderate the page? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you said exactly what I was going to say. So.
Okay.
Well, I think last time, or I can't remember if it was the last meeting. Last time we had a conversation about Facebook, the idea was brought up that the chair, the representative from town hall or from the administration, and then one other person would be the moderator / administrators for the Facebook page. And I think that makes the most sense. That way the whole committee isn't, I don't want to say burdened, but doesn't carry the responsibility of making sure that everything is taken care of on the Facebook page. And I also, we talked about if something does get posted that violates the code of conduct, that committee member can reach out to any of the three moderators And one of those three should likely be available at all times. So I think that makes, and Shika, since you're the
Yep.
Mastermind.
Marketing person. I'll take mastermind. That sounds better than marketing person.
how about the marketing mastermind?
Okay. Yeah, I think it was the three of us, right? Becca, Tim, and I. Is that how it plays out?
Yeah. And if
Okay.
everybody, does that work for everybody else? Is that?
I don't think we'll get anybody saying no.
That's fine.
Could I
That's great.
ask a question about
Oh,
the
yes.
page? This is a group,
It
right?
is a group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when someone joins the group, will they see these guidelines and have to agree, or will we have questions for them to answer? As I know,
wasn't
like when I've joined groups, it's been like, what's your address? To try to make sure you live here,
Yeah. Well, we can do that, but that's just another thing, right? For us that we'll have to manage and make sure we allow folks in. It's up to the team if we want to do that or not. The guidelines should be visible at all times.
Okay.
So we could have a question that just says, are you willing to follow our guidelines, or something really broad like that? And say if you don't, you won't be in a group, or however we want to word it. But that can be kind of our entry question, rather than trying to confirm that people live here and all that, unless there's reasons from a town perspective that we need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I just use that one as an example. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
opposed to
totally.
that, but I was just wondering if, is
Mhm.
that a required part? I know that you could have groups without that, but I don't know that we want a no gate. But
I was happy with no gate, but
really?
I don't
Okay.
know if because I want to make sure we're getting, and I'm not trying to be silly about it. It's more I want people to know what we're doing here in Northborough, even if they don't live here. If someone's interested in maybe moving to Northborough, I want them to be able to see what we're doing, and
That's a good
maybe that'll
point.
draw people in. Yeah, that's why I was saying that.
Okay. So yeah, as long, that was the motivation for my question, was whether that was how they would see the guidelines. But if they're just posted and everybody can see them at any time, then, and I guess maybe notifying people that they have to follow these, so that even if they don't see them, they know to look for them, might be a good thing. But I agree with you, it should be a low bar and not restricted.
Yeah, I've seen on other groups where they have an announcement at the top that's kind of pinned there.
Okay.
So we could probably do that. That's probably the best way for us to make sure that they're always visible and note these are the guidelines we're expecting. This is the expectation we're setting if you're going to be part of this community. And if for whatever reason, you go against these guidelines, then, your post will be removed, or you potentially be removed from the group.
Got it. Okay.
I like that.
There's also language in the guidelines that says by posting or commenting, you are agreeing to adhere by the guidelines. So from an enforcement perspective, all we have to do is have them visible on the page. And then, because it is a public record, by law, everything that's posted becomes part of the public record. But if there's profanity or anything that goes against our guidelines, we are then allowed to remove it, even though it's considered a public record. That's sort of what we were trying to, at least for me, that's what I wanted to get across that was important for me to get across with the guidelines, just so that we have some control over moderation of content, because, sometimes things get hairy online.
Yeah, and it just takes one person too,
Right.
which makes that's why the guidelines are so important. So one person quickly becomes two, and then two becomes four, and then, just got to make sure that we take care of it if the unfortunate does happen.
So I guess the next step, Shika, Tim, and I, we can offline after, we can share the login stuff, and if we're ready, we can have people given thought to the first post.
I think it should be about the listening session.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was
Okay,
going to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have a flyer for that yet? No, right?
Yes.
We do?
Well, just a flyer that we'll talk about when we talk about Apple Fest coordination.
Okay,
There's a section on that flyer about the listening session, so. But I think the post that we put should have some more details than we have on the flyer. But I think we can put together a couple drafts and see what works best.
okay.
Good on that. Any other questions on Facebook? Okay. Next on the agenda is Apple Fest coordination. So like I shared, I've had a couple conversations with Michelle Gillespie at Apple Fest, and weighing our different options. It sounds like setting up a table at the fireworks is going to work best. Setup will be from 4 to 5, and then Michelle said people start showing up about around 5. So I figure we'll probably keep the table up 5 to 7:30, 8 o'clock. Fireworks usually go off about 8:30. So if we break down the table, 7:45, 8 o'clock.
Is it the 18th? The 18th?
Yeah, whatever that's
Saturday, the
Saturday
18th?
is.
Okay.
Yeah. Break down the table like 7:45, 8 o'clock. Throw everything in somebody's car, and then that way, whoever is there, can go and enjoy the fireworks with their family if they want to. Plus, I don't think anybody's going to be walking around talking with the people at tables when the fireworks going off. So, if you haven't been down to the fireworks, they have quite a few activities going on prior to the fireworks. Starting at like 5 o'clock. So they have like the bouncy houses. They have a band. They have food. We won't be the only table. There's going to be, I don't know how many tables, 5, 10, 15 different tables with different organizations at the fireworks talking with people. So, but it sounded like it was a more relaxed atmosphere, and then when people are there, they're like looking for something to do because they're just waiting around for the fireworks to start. So it might give us a better chance to have some more meaningful conversations with some people, which will be great. So we need to bring everything that we need, though. So like we need to bring a table, chairs, and any display stuff that we want to set up. So Becca mentioned that she had a Black Lives Matter flag and a gay pride flag, which I think would be great to have. And then if there's anything else that we want to bring.
I can bring a table and the tablecloth and chairs.
Okay, that would be great.
We're going to
Do we
have
still-
flyers, but are we still going to have like some kind of like the flyer on a board or something like that? Like that type of, were we going to get a large version of, I don't know.
Well, when we talked about that, and when we go over the flyer, maybe we can talk about, is there a piece from the flyer that we just want to blow up and just have one big printed version of it?
Okay. If we end up doing that, I'll bring the easel.
Okay. Perfect.
Were we still planning to give out water or something? I remember we were talking about that before. If so, I could grab that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I don't see any reason why not.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I
Just
just,
the small ones.
yeah, the small ones. Yep. Mhm.
Is that
That's
important? Like
fine.
if they're selling food,
Mhm.
does giving out, I'm assuming they're also selling drinks. So does giving out something impose on that, or like, are there rules around that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll ask Michelle.
Yeah,
run
if
that
it's
by her.
problematic, then yeah, but
I don't think so, Tim, but it's best probably to check with Michelle.
Yeah.
They, I'm trying to think, I know, the Rotary or whatever, they do hot dogs or Polish sausage or something. I think they have sodas. Their Apple Fest does popcorn and the glow sticks to make money. I'm not sure anybody is selling water, but it's good to check.
Okay. And if we can't sell water, I mean, if we can't give away water, like candy or lollipops or something like that for kids would be good. So I think there's plenty of options. So Shika, I'll reach out to Michelle,
let me know. Yeah,
get that information from her, and then I'll pass it on to you, and then we can have a separate conversation about freebies.
okay.
I might be able to get my hands on some stickers.
Stickers would be really cool.
Yeah, like little rainbow stickers. I don't, but I might, yeah, that'd be an easy thing to give away.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Okay, make a note.
Did anybody do face painting?
What?
Huh?
I do, Virginia, but it's horrible, and it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like some crazy guy with paint painted on your face.
Okay,
You can do
well,
that if you
forget
want.
Forget that then.
That's actually a really good idea, Virginia. I was thinking the same thing. I like that idea.
Yep.
I'm not offering it because I'm a terrible artist, but it's a great idea.
You have to have a license to face paint? No, right?
No?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a Board of Health thing.
Oh,
That's interesting. They sell the kits.
Assabet does, during the street fair, Assabet has done paintings.
Okay.
Face paintings. So, anyway.
My 6-year-old has drawn on his own face with markers in the past, and we could have him come down. All right, so Mary, you'll bring a table and chairs. Becca's got the flags. Sheikah's got the freebies. Deidre's got the easel. Virginia, you've got the printing.
do we need like a canopy or something, like a thing?
If somebody has one, that would be great.
I can bring one. I have one.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
So how many copies do you think you need?
I have no idea.
Do we know how many people normally come to this event? I've never been.
Oh, geez.
A lot.
A
A
lot.
lot, a
Okay.
lot.
Okay.
I spoke about 100 to 200. Because also everybody doesn't take everything. So there's a ton of people there, but everybody may not want a flyer or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah. I was thinking somewhere between 250 and 500.
Ooh, I know they could do the 200. I can ask about 500, but I guess we sort of need to make a decision on it so they can have it and I can send it over. So it
Do
looks
they
like it's
want
not
donations?
trifold, it's just being half.
Can we contribute to the cost? Would that be helpful? Or is it more of a time thing?
I think I need to ask him. It's more of a time, I think, than cost. But once I get this and have an idea, I'll send it over to him tomorrow. If this is what we want to go with. If there are no corrections, or if you want to do corrections, then I suggest we maybe need to give them to Tim so he can get me a clean copy.
Yeah, there's gonna be, I know there's gonna be some corrections. So this isn't the text isn't final. But I can get those taken care of by Tuesday next week.
Okay,
The
so you
person
want us to send you corrections?
well, we can have just make, I really want to make sure that everybody's likes the layout and how it looks. Like the text is like, if you read through the bios, if anybody wants any changes to their bio, just send that to me so I can just include that in the text updates. And if there's anything in there that you don't like, but it's really around the way that it would lay out, you know, so it would be two-sided. And, you know, this would be the cover. And I don't know if we'll have to have, like, I think we'll get rid of the Northborough Board of Selectmen as at the top. It will move the Diversity and Inclusion Committee up to there and just get rid of the selectmen. Because I just pulled this off the website because I just needed to get the person that was doing the graphic design, what it would, the general framework of it.
I actually had a question about that. And
Okay.
Do we want to put that they charge to this committee? Like if we want to keep the Northborough Board of Selectmen, can we move Diversity and Inclusion Committee up just like you were saying, but just say that like they charge the committee on like their certain day?
Yeah, that's on the
That's on the
inside.
second page.
But yeah, so like move that part or leave it there. But like if you want to have them more prominent, like have that part be.
I like
Or leave it
removing
where
it.
is.
I do. I like removing the Board of Selectmen and leaving it where it is. Because it's saying it on the second page
Okay.
that they charge it, but to this page should be us, in my opinion. So I would leave,
Yeah.
I would take them off of this page. This is us. And then we go in here, we talk about that. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
What I was trying to see on the back, is this listening session, is this in person or is this Zoomed?
It will be on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd add that so that people would know.
Yeah.
And that I thought that could there be more of a call to action in the beginning? Like you're invited or join us. Like it's not clear. Like we're having a listening session, but it's not clear that we're asking people to come.
Or participate.
Right.
Because it's Zoom. Because
or
it's
like,
Zoom.
what do we want from them? Share, come and share your ideas about diversity, come and share your experience in Northborough. Like what?
Or join us to share your experience or da-da-da. Or join the Zoom call to share your experiences or your questions about committee or whatever for the town of Northborough.
Okay, that's good. I can change that.
But I really like that.
It looks great, Tim. You did a great.
The layout and everything is really great.
So Miriam, where are you going to college? What school are you going to?
What school am I current? So I go to Simmons.
Quick Zigerman?
No, I go to Simmons.
Simmons.
Simmons. Okay, I would add that My suggestion would be to add your college for yours.
Sure. I just kept it out because, you know, I didn't think it was too significant to share with other people, but I'm okay with either.
I, so the graphic with the survey results, I really like this graphic. Are all of these questions, do they stem from one root? Like, what is the root, the actual question?
Yeah, when you put in the entire question.
Yeah, I know that you can't. I want to know what it is.
Yeah, they tie back to the questions on the survey.
But are they all different or do they have the same root? Like, tell us blah, blah about, or not tell us, but to what degree do you agree, or how much do you agree with your activities and events being diverse? Or you see what I'm saying? Like, where does this piece come from? Because I would like to see us add a little bit more of it. I know you can't add the whole question, but I'm not sure what the context of activities and events is.
Yeah, it's sort of floating right now without the context. I see what you mean by that, Deidre. Is there something that we can put in there to Deidre's point that kind of encompasses what we were asking there? I can't remember for the life of me.
Yeah, like what I mean is maybe right before the table, there can be like a little, a little bit of context.
A lead in, yeah.
A lead in, that's part of the question, if all of these questions are related.
Right.
Or something that just provides like, did we ask about whether activities and events are diverse, or the degree to which people feel, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you to just read a couple of the questions so I can help to come up with that.
They do all have a similar root, like you're saying. It's not exactly the same. They're all phrased differently, but they're generally the same type of question. But I understand what you're saying, and I can see if I can add something around that's a little bit more like, I was even thinking of moving where underneath the graphic there's measuring change in the paragraph, like moving that to above the graphic so you read that first, because that gives you a little bit of
oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
context around that. And
because that lets people know that these results come from the survey, so that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then yeah, right after that sentence, the results of this survey maybe not there.
Yeah, and I'll see, and I don't know if the survey itself lives online somewhere. But I can look around, and if there's a way to post a link to the survey, because I think that would be the easiest way for a more detailed.
I'm really don't mean more details. I just mean like a little bit more so people can get the context. Like, were these questions about diversity? Were like, obviously, but how? I don't know. Without an example of the question, I can't really, I'm having trouble.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Making something real happen, but I think it could be very short. It doesn't have to be a long thing, just a little bit more info. And then I was curious about what people thought about including a little bit about like how many people responded or anything response rate related.
Oh, that's a good idea. I can add that. That's a tangible number that will help that we had.
So I guess maybe one of the things, I haven't had a chance to study this because we just got it today and I took a quick look at it. But in terms of content on the second page, I'm not sure that we want to put all this about the survey. I think it should be more about what is our work and what are we going to do. The survey was a launch pad to sort of help us to get over it, but I don't think we want to write a whole lot about the survey. We've done things, Tim, and I've sort of mentioned the report that you gave to the selectmen, because we as a committee have reached out to all the towns. You know, we've looked at the town departments, we reach out to some of the organizations, and we're gathering information to help set our agenda and all. I think we need to talk about that, but not a lot, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, not a lot about the survey.
The reason why I liked using the survey is because it gives us the chance to use a graphic, and I think it's an important, if it's all text, I think people are going to look at it and put it down. I don't think people are going to invest the time to read something that is all, there's almost too much text in there now. So I think by including a graphic with the colors that are in it, I think that will help grab people's attention, and hopefully they'll spend a little bit of time to read about it. And I think, to Deidre's point, if you can add some context to it, I think people will look at it and say, oh, wow, they've uncovered something interesting, or look at the work that they've done, or look at they've gotten, 570 responses to the survey. The community is really turning out for it. Those are the types of responses I want to get. I don't expect people to look at the graphic and dig into it and be like, oh, only 24.5% of people were above average on this. But I just don't think people are gonna, it's really to grab their attention. If you put too much text, I'm just afraid you're going to lose people.
I agree. I see your point, Virginia. I see your point as well, but I do think it's important because so many times in my just talking to neighbors and friends and whatever, people have often said they don't even feel we need a diversity committee. Why do we have that? Everything's fine the way it is. I think this is kind of at a glance shows, especially where you have over 500 people that responded, it shows that there's a range of feeling about diversity in our community. And I think this is a good summary of that, and it does show that we've done some work, and it's not tangible, but it's tangible. You know what I mean?
Miriam, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. We should keep the data. It is a part of the work that we've done, and I agree, breaking up the text a little bit is necessary. If it feels a little data heavy, maybe we can remove one or two of the lines. And to Deirdre's point, I agree that there needs to be a little bit of context, because as I'm looking at it too, it looks a little bit like, what do events mean? Like having even like a question in front of it, explaining what we meant by that. And it doesn't have to be like another paragraph. We can kind of just, how like the data is here, and then to the left, there's the words, just editing like those words.
Yeah, just
to do it.
Add a little more detail. That's a good idea, though, Miriam. Maybe remove 1 or 2 lines. Which ones would we remove?
Tim, is that chart editable? I know you were getting something from, like, I don't know if you're using Tableau or another tool. Can you edit those labels?
I can edit those within Tableau and then re-export the image. So what I can do is go
Okay.
into Tableau, remove a couple of the questions. So to Miriam's point, it maybe isn't so condensed. It will help open things up a little bit. And then I can go in and
Just change the label and
change some of the questions so that they're more questions instead of labels.
Yep.
I
So
would
let me
remove
ask,
strong leadership support.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Deidre? I'm sorry.
Oh, someone, is it Mary, asked what we would remove, and I was just looking through maybe strong leadership support of diversity and inclusion. The reason is that this committee suggests already a support. So like whether people believe it or not, I mean, I think the rest of them are more interesting. I don't know. And then some of them seem similar.
We could take out 1 of the 2 of the first 2. Those are a bit similar.
Yeah. And the strong leadership.
Let me just ask a question. How many of you have been to the fireworks? Okay, if when you come to the fireworks, people they're coming to have a lot of fun. So the thought is that we're going to have a table that we're going to be the idea is the brochure may be something they will take home, but we need to be prepared to talk diversity and inclusion when people come to the table. And, we want to be able to talk about what we're doing, talk about our mission, talk about our goals, because people will just be passing by. There will be families with 6 kids, and they'll be all jumping in football and everything like that, because it's a big hype, and it's a big celebration out there. So I just want us to be thoughtful of what we're putting in the brochure. Some people will take it just as anything, and some people will not take it. So we need to be prepared to have a conversation about diversity and inclusion more than having a brochure.
Right, I wrote that down, talking points. What are our talking points? And I think these bullets here, like what our charge is a really great springboard for that. But we each need a list of like 2-3 things to say about each of these. Very quick, punchy, like, what have you done so far? Boom, boom, boom. Like, we've met with X number of town offices, departments
and committees.
Yes, like things like that are like data driven in a way, where they give some like number and time.
And what are we going to do with it? What are we doing with it? What are our goals with
and
the
then
meeting?
the writing of the report?
Yeah.
And come to the listening thing. Like, one key piece is hearing from town members. So we had the survey, but now we really want people to be able to expand on those responses. So what date is it? Come.
Yeah,
Come,
like
I just want to hear from you.
Like
I
our
also want to
Facebook
remind
page.
us that there are 15,000 people in Northborough. 15,500 took the survey. So it's a bunch of people we haven't had a dialogue with that we still want to engage.
To that point, I had this as a thought. Do we need to have, I think we do we need to have some sort of a sign up sheet, like physical sheet at the table. Because when we do the QR code and have people go to Facebook, I know Virginia's brought this up a couple of times, but not everybody's on Facebook or like interested in going on Facebook or using QR code. Do we also need to have some way for the folks that we're engaging with at the event to say, hey, yeah, I'm interested and I want to share my experience. I'm happy to provide my information right here, and you can follow up with me with the Zoom information afterward. I don't know if that's okay or not, but I feel like that's a
good point.
prime opportunity.
That's
Yeah,
a good point.
I just don't want us to have this great dialogue, get people engaged in a conversation and tell them to do the QR code and then they never do it, or they don't know how, or if we have the opportunity, like, let's get the information if we can.
Yeah.
Do folks have iPads?
We have iPads, you said?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
what
because
a physical sign up sheet is so difficult. Like
I
you
know.
just spell everything. It's like the data entry. So if we could get people to like do their own data entry,
Right.
it would be like half the battle. We could get like a Google sheet or something and just
Yeah.
have people type in their email address or something.
So we have one more meeting before Apple Fest, right?
Yes.
I was also planning on bringing business cards. So if people wanted a quick way to get back in touch, you know,
That's a great
that
idea.
has the website on it, my email address, phone number, you know, in case they either don't grab the brochure or they can't do the QR code or don't have Facebook.
Right.
All right, well, let's at our meeting on the 16th, go through the details of the event, or of Apple Fest. We all know what pieces we're responsible for bringing stuff for Apple Fest. The only other thing is manning the booth over the course of the 4 hours. So showing up at 4 o'clock. Mary, if you're bringing the table, then you're gonna have to. If you show up at 6 o'clock, we're all gonna be sitting around waiting for you.
I'll be there.
If you could be part of the team that does the setup, that would be great. And then, like, I have no issue staying for the entirety of it.
I can see the whole thing too. I'm fine with that.
I will come and help with the setup because I'll be bringing the brochures.
Okay.
And I probably will be there the whole time as well.
Okay. And then, and if, you know, Miriam and Chica and I'll reach out to Lauren and, you know, it would be great if the more that we had there, the better. But if people can't make it, I totally understand that too. Or if people only can make it for a short amount of time, or, you know.
Yep, I'm happy to be there for a bit. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
I'll be around.
Yeah.
I heard that it takes hours to get out of the parking lot at the end. Is that true?
Yes.
Only one way out. Well, there's 2 ways out.
They try to get you out fast, but it will take an hour. The thing that you can do is when they start the last one, leave then and get a head start.
Like 7th inning stretch, just get out of there
and just bail out. Or then you can sit around and just relax because there's no sense in rushing because you aren't going far anyway.
Right.
Good thing I live in walking distance.
See, we'll all go to her house and we'll leave our cars there, and then we can go pick them up. You know, we can do that.
Good.
Thank you, Miriam.
You're welcome to come on over.
And then I also, though, they do collect money for you to bring when you come in. They will tell you, I think it's like $5 a car full, I don't remember, last year, I think, a couple of years ago, it was like $5. I don't know. Tim, when you talk to Michelle, you may want to ask what, what it is.
Yeah, usually for people that are working at the event, you don't have to pay, or it's optional to pay. So if you pull up, and usually Michelle's husband, Dave, is usually doing the parking duties, and just let him know that you're working the D&I committee booth. You shouldn't have to pay if you don't want to.
Where is this located in town?
At the high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Algonquin.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. And sometimes you want to bring coats because it get cold, or a blanket, coat or a blanket.
Sounds good.
But it's fun. They're very, very good. Those fireworks cost a pretty penny, and they are outstanding.
I think it's kind of cool because we'll be able to meet each other.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Do.
That will be interesting. That'll be great.
Yeah.
All right, so I will make these changes to the flyer. Do you want me to, once I get the edits back, do you want me to share this with everybody so everybody can have one last look at it? And then I'll send it off to Virginia and we'll work out printing. And then what I was thinking, to Deidre's point about a larger picture, is just doing the front cover, maybe landscaped, and just doing that with the diversity and the mission, and just having that in a larger, I don't know, 24 by 36 type of printout, and then putting that on some cardboard, and then you can put it up on the easel, and will be a good size, and it's colorful and has a little bit of information about the committee.
So would you sketch that out on another piece of paper, what you're thinking about? Because they may be able to do a big blow up, not out, but a blow up from the school.
Okay.
So if you'll do that and send it to me, and I'll see if I
Okay.
can see if they can do that.
Okay.
Can we also put the QR code on that big board?
Yes. Good
Because
idea.
that
Yeah.
would be great. And then we could use that other places too. It doesn't have to say anything about the listening session. It's just like follow us on Facebook or something like that. And then we can keep using that.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Any other business? Anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss tonight?
I have one thing. So I wanted to talk to the committee. So I know everyone knows that Hamilton is no longer a member of the committee because he moved out of town. So I wanted to get your input on whether or not you wanted us to pursue filling his seat, or given the limited timeline of the committee, we could leave his seat vacant until we make the presentation, and then, allow the board to, if they choose to make the committee permanent, they could then reorganize and fill seats then. So.
What would getting a new member entail? Like, I know there was like a big interview process. Would we have to go through something like this? Or would we be able to go back to the pool of people who already interviewed?
So unfortunately, there's an advertising requirement. So we would still have to put out an ad, collect applicants. We would obviously notify the people that initially were not chosen, and encourage them to, resubmit their interest. And then a subcommittee of the board would have to do interviews, and then they would have to be appointed at a board meeting. So that process will probably take at least a month. Best case scenario.
It's tricky to get involved now after we've gotten this far? Would it be?
Well, that's kind of what I'm asking. I mean, I didn't want to make that decision for the committee. I do sort of feel like, given the amount of time it would take us to fill the seat, I don't know that it would be beneficial for that person to come in when we only have a month or so left and we're pretty much wrapped up what we're doing. But, if the committee felt strongly otherwise, obviously I'm open to that.
I agree with what you just said, Becca. From my perspective, I think it's going to take a little too long for us to get someone in a seat and have them make any sort of impact or have influence, because it'll be time to wrap things up. So I think we're fine where we are right now. That's my opinion.
So I have mixed emotions. I sort of agree with you, Becca, but I think it would be nice if we had another male on the committee for diversity. Just, a matter of diversity, so it's not all females, but I know Tim, and all females and one with you, Tim, but that's just a thought. So.
Yeah, but if we open it back up, we can't say we're just looking for a guy to join.
But we can selectively advertise. We can selectively interview, okay? So, but you're right, we can't, but we can figure that one out.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, I too thought of, it would be nice to get, it's always great to have other people involved and get different perspectives and hear different experiences. But by the time that a new person is appointed, even if the process is quick and there's a quick turnaround, you're still looking at the beginning of October, and you're really going to have a new person in for 2 to 3 meetings, and then it's going to be presentation time. So I'm more than confident that we can get done what we need to get done with the people that we have now. And I would be more concerned that a new
I
person
agree.
would slow us down. Right at the end where we the majority of the heavy lifting is going to take place, and they're just not going to be able to help with any of that because they just haven't been involved for the last 9 or 10 months. So I think we're fine the way we are.
Yeah. I think I'm getting the consensus, so I appreciate everyone's input.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Anybody else have anything else that they wanted to discuss tonight? No?
Nope.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Deidre, seconded by Sheikah. Roll call vote. Mary Leach,
Aye.
Sheikah Holland,
Aye.
Miriam Ibrahimi,
Aye.
Virginia Sims George,
Aye.
Deidre Writing,
Aye.
Becca Meekins,
Aye.
and I, Tim Kalen, vote aye. And we are adjourned.